Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I do want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakdash. The born to the apostles, Nels Great Millstone for teaching us this truth, peace, and blessings to the whole elect of Israel. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father in Hebrew, by Hashem is the name, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the begotten Son. Back on the lesson, and as you within the title, Godzilla is real according to the Bible. And I put quotations around Godzilla because within the scriptures, within the Bible, Godzilla is known as Leviathan. Which Godzilla is a pretty much spitting image, a depiction of what Leviathan would pretty much look like. And because where do you think they got the inspiration from to create this type of creature? He has this atomic breath. And it's also mentioned within the scriptures going to, that fire, coming out of his mouth. Make it the sea, to boil. And rough perfect. You also have some particular scenes. I believe in the movie Shin Godzilla, which is another Godzilla movie. But pretty much in the beginning, you have the sea, pretty much begin to boil when he's about to emerge. And you have this sequel, a part 2 to the movie Godzilla -1, which is a really good movie. Definitely recommend checking that out. Especially viewing things with a spiritual eye, because this is what you are ultimately getting ready to see unfold and take place. And just as you have that movie, it's called Clash of the Titans, something to that effect. But you have that one famous saying, quote, where you have the person, in that movie that's pretty much playing the Most High says, "Release the Kraken." When we come to these last days, the Lord's going to release Leviathan, aka Godzilla. But once they just recently dropped this trailer, for this movie, showcase, these 2 clips, of Godzilla. And just, maybe last year, you had a bunch of, movies, TV shows coming out regarding Godzilla. So you're seeing that spirit, in the air being pushed. And also you had, actual real life, footage, not, footage actually, captured, but of just, abnormal things happening. Where you have this actual one image, where you have this, huge, shadowy figure, spotted within the sea, and just one other video where you had a bunch of icebergs, pretty much begin to move whilst people were on a cruise ship. But just, very single examples. But once it comes to these last days, this is something that you will see. You can mock, you can scoff, you can, call us crazy, say whatever. But this is something that will unfold. Something that you will see. And I'm actually going to save this image right here. Make that the thumbnail. But let's get into the scripture at hand. Which start off with Job 41. It shouldn't be too long of a lesson. Just want to make a lesson going into this, because that trailer just dropped, so the spirit hit me to dive into it. Because also one of my favorite topics to dive into, going to Leviathan, because this is a very real creature, and also it could be multiple, not just one. You could also mention in Genesis, mentions those whales. I mean, look into the etymology of that word whales, it goes into, dragon, like creatures. So also speaking of, literal whales, but also something else. Because what whale is likened to, a dragon-like creature. Which I actually, have, which I'll get throughout the lesson, because it always mentions a land and sea animal. And obviously, whales can't walk or, go on land. So showing you there's something else there. But it starts off here in Job 41. Slack was kind of stalling at the intro. But as it canst thou draw out Leviathan within hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee without take him for a servant forever? Without play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thine hand upon him. Remember the battle, do no more. So it's going to show the Leviathan is not just no simple, regular creature that you just come across. That you're able to, fish out the sea. That you're able to, penetrate, the skin. Because you have people that will, have harpoons and, these hooks to, capture the fish and all that type of stuff. Leviathan, you ain't gonna do that with. And it says, lay thine hand upon him, remember the battle, do no more. And it says, behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? You're going to have people dying, having heart attacks at the sight of him. Because this is something that people think can't be a possible reality. This is something that would never take place, something that you would never see. Well, your reality is going to be shaken. People's reality is going to be flipped upside down. Now let's see. Said none is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before him? And you wonder why, so little of the ocean has been explored. And we can actually, get a. So how much of the ocean has been explored? Approximately 5% of the world's ocean has been explored by humans. So you can imagine what type of other creatures are down there, especially that the Lord might especially let loose. Because you also get wisdom of Solomon, the 17th chapter, if I'm correct. It goes into these beasts newly created. It says while over 80% remains unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. So while roughly 27% of the seafloor has been mapped using high resolution modern sonar, less than 0.001% of the deep ocean has been directly observed or visually explored. So this devil knows something is down there. Because they also show you within these, the movies, the origin of, the awakening of Godzilla. They nuke the sea. They're doing so-called, nuclear tests. I believe they even show you in one of the Godzilla movies, by Legendary. I believe that's the organization or whatever, or movie company. But one particular scene where they're pretty much observing them, deep under the sea. So hopefully this devil knows something down there and he ain't trying to mess with it, as you see right here. If we read one more time. Says none is so fierce that dare stir him up. But the Lord is going to unleash Leviathan. So when things start popping off, kicking off, don't be surprised when you see this kaiju like creature pop up. Which that's what the term they use for these huge creatures, as you see with the Pacific Rim. I believe they call those huge creatures kaijus. But it says, who has prevented me that I should repay him whatsoever is under the heaven is mine? It says, I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. Who can discover the face of his garment, or who can come to him with his double bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. So, impenetrable. As we're going to further read. They are joined one to another, they stick together that they cannot be sundered. By his knee sinks a light through his shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his lips, or it's like out of his mouth, go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. So what creature today you see as able to cast fire from its mouth? And as I made that point being a lesson, where do you think they got the inspiration from to create this type of creature? And you have the iconic, atomic breath, they call it in the movie. What we just read right here, out of his mouth go burning lamps and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goes smoke, and as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. There you go. And it says, and his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. The flakes of his flesh are joined together, they are firm in themselves, they cannot be moved. His heart is firm as a stone, yet his heart is a piece of another millstone. This is when he raises up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reasons of breakings they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold, the spear, the dart, nor the habergeon. He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotten wood. You know how flimsy rotten wood is? One touch breaks it. That's what steel and these weapons this devil has are to him. Nothing. Because we just mentioned in verse 26 is the sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold, the spear, the dart. What would be the modern day dart? These missiles. This weaponry this devil has. Because the arrow cannot make him flee, the sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Darts is counted as stubble, he laugheth at the shaking of a spear. So that one scene where you actually have Godzilla laughing. And I believe Godzilla versus Kong. But his sharp stones are under him, he spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire, he maketh the deep to boil like a pot. As I mentioned earlier, that one scene in Shin Godzilla, where he's about to emerge, you see the sea begin to boil. He maketh the path to shine after him, one would, I don't know if I finished the first 31, because he maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh the path to shine after him, one would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not like his, or there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things, he is king over all the children of pride. So there's that. Psalms 104:26. Further answer that point. So there go the ships. There is that Leviathan whom thou was made to play therein. So these ships, these submarines are nothing but little ducks to Leviathan. And just like you have either young children, or when you were young, you'd have little ship toys, or rubber ducks when you'd go in the bath. That's what that is to Leviathan. These warships this devil has, these battleships, submarines, ain't nothing. And the Lord's gonna sick them onto this devil, which we're gonna further get in Amos. Come from, we're not just pulling this out of our behind. This is a soon reality. This is Genesis 1:21, which I made that point earlier, mentioning those whales. And it says, Genesis 1:21, it says, and Elohim, which is going to the powers, created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and power saw that it was good. Now I do want to get more going into the etymology of the word whales. I just lost it. There we go. Genesis 1:21. I was going to that word whales.
Strong's H 8577. Tanim. Tanim.
That's Strong's, and it says intensive from the same H8565 says a marine or land monster. So obviously a whale is not a land monster, So the marine or land monster, sea serpent or jackal, dragon, sea monster, serpent, whale. So obviously you're speaking of, literal whales, but also another creature. Also over here it says dragon, serpent, whale. Get a little bit more. It says dragon, serpent, sea monster, dragon, or dinosaur. Sea or river monster, serpent, venomous snake. So that clearly doesn't sound, just a whale by itself. Something more to it than just it being a whale. That's the point. I don't think I need anything else from this. Yeah, I see it right there. Got 2 more scriptures, and that'd be the point right there. Amos 9:2-3. And it says, though they dig into hell, which means deep underground, then shall my hand take them. And it says, though they climb to heaven, thence will I bring them down. So you're gonna have this devil try to flee, trying to escape, his judgment. And go into these bunkers, climb to heaven. His space station, trying to flee, trying to escape, but he's unable to. As you also see in Scripture, the Lord has bounds that he cannot pass. Verse 3, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I'll search to take them out thence, and though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. Who's that serpent speaking? Leviathan, aka Godzilla. Matthew 4:21, and close it out with this right here. It says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. So we're in some times that have never been seen before. Crazy like times. Especially once you see Leviathan emerge. Once you see more and more chariots begin to pop up and show themselves. So you're gonna have a lot of people bugging out, freaking out, but to those of us in this truth, this ain't gonna be nothing new, for lack of better words, because we're in the know, and we're warning you through the spirit part of Yahweh as to what's getting ready to unfold and take place. And hey, this is what's coming. This is why you in Isaiah 33:6, how wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. So having this truth, this wisdom, keeps us sane, keeps us stable. So when we do see these things, we're not freaking out, we're not bugging out, because we know what's up. We have the playbook, we have the script. But to the people of this world, this would be a terrible, terrible sight. Because I made the point earlier, this is something that people think, could only be within movies, cartoons, TV shows, that this would never be a reality. Well, it will. It will. And you're going to know that a prophet has been among you. So it's going to be a crazy sight. Because you see within these movies, where when you see the creatures like this, pop up, and it's always televised, pop up on the news. It's what you're getting ready to see. Where you have in Pacific Rim, where you have that scene, where that kaiju, breaks through the bridge and is televised, and people freaking out. A soon reality. But that's it right there. That's why tie these points together. That's my ability. I do close out. Give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Bashmel Shabbat Shemukah Kadash.